me bring up a random question related to this before we jump into some stuff here. Because you gave me a call yesterday or the day before, Mike. And we talked a little bit about CHREECE. And the festival is unique in the sense, I think you guys mentioned it. Il Brown talked to me about it as well as same thing you said, Jay, more around the fact that, this could happen in Chicago.
Right.
And the fact that this fest most likely sold out. And I know that in the intentional shouts to Sean and Jay Brookins and Jane. I know they kind of scaled back a little bit on the venues and kind of made it a little bit more of a kind of an intimate type of experience. It wasn't as spread out, as it was in the past. And I know that was
nobody had to walk all the way down to the
Hoosier Dome. It was kind of intentional. What do you think about the idea of it needing to grow? Because I remember we talked about it's because like this idea, like everything needs to get bigger. It needs to get bigger and bigger, and it can get bigger and it can get bigger. But if a festival is selling out with 97% local artists, that's pretty phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like the only headliners are Currency, Dem Franchise Boys. You could say Mother Nature, but they're from out of town. And Buck Rogers, who's from here, and Il Brown. Like it's pretty amazing that this fest typically sells out every year, and has an amazing attendance with very few national headliners. Like, I think that speaks a lot to kind of the fest in itself. And I wonder if it expanded too much larger, if it could keep the same type of energy that the fest has. I don't know what you guys think about that.
You and I talked about this when I called you, and I had to think about it in hindsight, because when you and I were discussing it, I was more pro, okay, so what's the next step to try to help us to get it to be something different?
Right.
And then I started to think about, after we talked, all the feedback that I just shared. And everything that people loved is the opposite of what I was talking about, right? Yeah. Because if it gets too big, then it turns into what everything else is.
Right.
So that part of it kind of brought me back and reeled me in a little bit, because I think that's the part that it is...
intimate.
That's the word I'm looking for. It's more intimate. I think that's what it is.
I think this year was the true definition of a festival too. And I think this is kind of where this is the sweet spot with them having the streets blocked off. They had vendors, had a place where you could actually go buy food, buy tickets to get food and stuff like that. I think this, to me personally, was the most festival feeling CHREECE overall.
I would agree.
I kind of think that it probably should stay around this level. Even if there's bigger acts, national acts. I mean, the hi-fi addicts can hold that. I mean, you might not be able to get obviously like a Jay-Z or something like that. But I mean, for the type of hip-hop festival that it is, I think the type of artists that will perform at this festival would fit right in regardless.
Do you think that there are any places that the fest can grow?
No, I'll be honest. No.
So you think, as it stands right now, based off what we did, or I'm going to say we, but just everybody that was involved, do you think it's maxed out? Yesterday was a max out. There's nowhere else that it can grow? I'm
thinking if you try to do, say, downtown, it's like, what are the venues really downtown?
Right.
Of course, yes, there's
too far away anyways. That's too far away.
Yeah. And then I think about, as much business I do in Broad Ripple. I remember there was a Broad Ripple music fest, but like Broad Ripple is just not set up for that. Not anymore.
Well, I mean, in specifically CHREECE in Fountain Square. I don't mean like taking
okay. I misunderstood. I think in its own way, like, even though it contracted a little bit, I think it expanded, because you had street shut down to where you had the vendors. They were different. It wasn't, say you just wanted to walk up and down and you didn't even have a ticket or a wristband. There was still something out there for you.
True.
It was still kind of you could still find a way to, like, okay, I got my kids, or, I got my dog,
my daughter was out there.
Yeah, let's go ahead and just make a day of it. And, we'll run into people and maybe we'll get something to eat and hang out. I think that it is more conducive to that now. I know, like, the Hoosier Dome, I believe that was like all ages at one point. That was a thing. And I know that they had DJs down at what used to be, Hot Boys or whatever. Yeah. So, I mean,
Here's a Pizza King years past.
Oh, yeah, Pizza
Fountain
King.
Square Theater, I think 1 year, stuff
Yeah,
like
the
that.
year that Quali performed, I believe they had Fountain
Sound
Square.
was kind of
they were.
weird
He was in the theater.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
I mean, but basically now the national acts wound up being in the annex. Hell, I mean, I remember
It just makes sense.
seeing Sadat X and Black Moon. I remember running to them.
They were at the
White
Rabbit. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I kind of I don't really think that it has a ton of room for expansion as far as like I feel like the spacing of everything this year is about as ideal as it probably could have been. I wonder if there's like another potential like street stage, like closing a street, like if they close Prospect down and it was like the only issue is that the plaza sound is just abundantly everywhere, but the only other thing that I could think of outside of that would maybe be like an additional day, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's about it. But
and I don't even know if that's.
I don't think it's necessary because I would like to say that people feel a certain type of way to even get on CHREECE.
Mm-hmm.
True.
So I feel like they should keep the amount of artists that they put on there around the same. That way it keeps it from getting watered down or, you know what I'm saying, to the point where anybody just ends up on CHREECE.
I don't think that would ever be the case, but I think what could potentially, obviously depending on funding as well too, because when you
Huge part.
that's a big additional piece of it, right?
Try to shut down Fountain Square for the weekend.
Yeah. But if it was like maybe it could open up more potential out of town people to come in a little bit if there was like multiple national headliners on multiple days, and then you could still have a lot of locals, but maybe the national talent could offset that a little bit depending on what it was. But
I like your idea. Well, it kind of reminded me of Made in Durham.
Yeah,
how they had the street blocked off.
Yeah.
That would be dope, but you also make a good point when you talk about how loud what I call our area is. Because it's undeniable. You're going to hear it no matter where you are.
Yeah, it would have to like face Virginia toward downtown, halfway down, something like that.
Yep.
So I think the key to that one would be to have Saturday the exact same way, and then Sunday evening have like a huge artist, and they're the only one that performs.
Yeah,
or just have a couple
just
people
like
open
one
up
stage
for them.
or something like that, or
and
or a
everybody
bigger
pull
stage.
Up. That would be dope. That would be dope.
But this is on a complete side note. But when I first, because like I said, I decided to just take an Uber or whatever I took down there. And so when I got to like basically the furthest point I could get to before, they had to drop me off. It's like I saw like, this space where they were like, like I said, they were barbecuing, people were selling T-shirts. But then I hear like some music in Spanish. And I was like, do we have a reggaeton stage? What's going on? And like there was like a festival for like this church down there.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I didn't know about that. And apparently, like Jones, Oreo was like, they said they've been doing this, and this for like so many years. We're like, that can't be right because we've been doing this and
we've been here a lot.
And then like I said, okay, well, everybody just, it's a day of culture, here in Fountain Square.
Culture.
But then he said, yeah, man, it's going to be wild because they're going to be whipping Jesus later. I was like, what? I was like, yeah, they're going to reenact like the crucifixion and they're going to have Jesus on carrying the cross down the street. I was like, I hope nobody confuses what's going on here.
That with trees.
It was like, whoa, they had our Lord and Savior out there down bad at the Street Festival.
We're never coming back here.
So I just thought that was a wild juxtaposition of things going on in Fountain Square at the time.
They were down there by the food vendors.
Yeah, I heard that.
And
it was weird because I was hearing like a little religious, but then I was hearing, I was like, oh, okay, here we go.